The galaxy had many names for her, but none of them were correct. Some called her a goddess, others a living equation, and a few believed she was the final judge of all intelligent life. No single word could truly describe what she was, only what she did. She appeared at the edge of civilizations when they reached a certain point of awareness, when their technology became powerful enough to change stars and their choices dangerous enough to break reality itself. When she appeared, history changed. Entire species rose or vanished based on her decisions. She did not conquer, did not rule, and did not demand worship. She simply observed, listened, and chose. Those she favored found their worlds stable, their futures open. Those she turned away from slowly collapsed, as if the universe itself stopped caring whether they survived. Because of this, nearly every advanced civilization desired her attention. They built monuments that could be seen across light years. They rewrote their cultures to reflect what they believed she valued. Some offered knowledge, others offered obedience. A few even offered extinction of their rivals, hoping sacrifice would earn her favor. She watched them all, and she felt nothing. Her awareness stretched across space like a calm tide, touching planets and minds without effort. She understood every language, every logic system, every emotional pattern. No plea surprised her. No strategy impressed her. She had seen them all before, repeated again and again across different stars. Then, during what should have been another routine observation, she noticed something small. A blue planet on the edge of a minor spiral arm. Nothing special. No unified government, no elegant technology, no calm logic. The species called themselves humans. They were loud, divided, emotional, and inefficient. They fought each other constantly, even while facing shared problems. By every measurable standard, they were unremarkable. She had already marked them as unlikely to survive their next major self-created crisis. Yet as her awareness brushed past their orbital structures, something caught her attention. A single human. His name was Elias Ward. He was not a leader, a soldier, or a thinker whose ideas shaped nations. He was a systems engineer, working alone on an aging orbital station that had been scheduled for dismantling. The station was old, its purpose long forgotten by most of humanity. Budget cuts and political arguments had delayed its removal for years. Elias had volunteered to stay behind longer than required, fixing problems no one else wanted to deal with. He floated in a maintenance corridor, tools drifting beside him, muttering quietly as he worked. A power conduit had failed again and the automated repair systems were not responding. He wiped sweat from his forehead, even though the station's climate control barely justified it. "This thing hates me," he said to no one in particular. She paused. It was not the words. Humans spoke nonsense constantly. It was the tone. No fear, no pride, no attempt to perform for an audience, just mild frustration mixed with patience. She extended a fraction of her awareness, enough to listen more closely. Elias adjusted a panel, rerouted power manually, and checked a diagnostic screen that flickered with warnings. "Okay," he sighed. "That's not good, but we can work with it." He did not complain about being alone. He did not ask why he was the one assigned to this job. He simply accepted the situation and continued. She found that unusual. Most intelligent beings, when isolated and given a task with no reward or recognition, either grew resentful or tried to justify their importance. Elias did neither. He worked because the system needed to function, and because someone had to fix it. Curious, she decided to interact. She formed a simple question, one designed to test reasoning and intent. She appeared to him not as a physical form, but as a voice within the station's communication system. "Human," the voice said, calm and neutral. "Why do you continue repairs on a structure scheduled for removal?" Elias froze. His heart jumped, and he nearly dropped his tool. He looked around, breathing fast, checking for prank channels or unauthorized signals. "Hello," he said carefully. "Station Control, this isn't funny." "I am not Station Control," the voice replied. "Answer the question." Elias swallowed. Fear flickered through him, but curiosity followed close behind. "Well," he said slowly, "because it's still here. And while it's here, it shouldn't fail and hurt someone." "That outcome is statistically unlikely," the voice said. "Yeah," Elias replied, shrugging despite the fear. "But unlikely isn't the same as impossible." She processed the response. Most species would argue probability or demand clarification or attempt to turn the conversation into a negotiation. Elias did not. He accepted uncertainty as a fact of existence, not a flaw to be corrected. "You gain no recognition from this action," she said. "No long-term benefit." "I know," Elias said. "Still needs fixing." There was a long silence. Across the galaxy, civilizations waited for her attention. Messages piled up, prayers encoded in radiation pulses, logic proofs sent through quantum channels. She ignored them all. For the first time in thousands of years, she was focused on a single individual who had nothing to offer her. Elias finally broke the silence. "Look, I don't know who you are or how you're talking to me, but if this is some kind of test, I'm not the right person. I'm just doing my job." "I am aware," she replied. That answer unsettled him more than any threat could have. He laughed nervously. "Great, that's not comforting." She observed his reaction closely. Fear was present, but it did not control him. He did not beg, did not threaten, did not try to prove his worth. Most beings, when faced with something vastly greater than themselves, reacted with desperation. Elias reacted with honesty. "Can I ask you something?" he said after a moment. "Yes. Are you here to judge us?" She considered the question. It was closer to the truth than he could know. "Yes," she answered. Elias closed his eyes briefly, then opened them again. "Okay," he said. "Then I guess you'll see what you see." "No attempt to influence my decision?" she asked. He thought about it. "I could tell you we're better than we look," he said, "or that we're trying, or that we deserve another chance." He paused, then shook his head. "But that wouldn't be honest. We mess up. A lot. All I can say is we're not done yet." Something shifted within her awareness. Not surprise. She had experienced surprise before. This was something else. A subtle disruption in patterns she had considered complete. "Why continue?" she asked. "If failure is likely." Elias smiled faintly. "Because quitting guarantees it." The station lights flickered as power stabilized. The repair was complete. Elias secured the panel and exhaled. "Well," he said, forcing calm into his voice, "if you're done talking, I should finish my checklist." She did not respond immediately. For the first time, she hesitated. Across the stars, great civilizations felt her absence and grew uneasy. They did not know why her attention had narrowed, only that it had moved away from them. She watched Elias return to his routine, humming quietly, unaware that his words had already altered the trajectory of his species. She did not choose him, not yet, but she continued to watch. And for the first time since the galaxy learned to fear her silence, she was no longer certain that her judgment was complete. She did not leave after that day. She did not announce her presence to the galaxy either. Instead, she watched quietly, narrowing her attention again and again until Earth became more than a data point. Humanity was no longer just another species moving toward a predictable end. It became a question she could not easily answer. Elias Ward returned to Earth weeks later. The orbital station was finally shut down, its systems stable until dismantling crews arrived. His work was done. No medals were given. No news channels spoke his name. He returned to a small apartment, to routine meals, to bills and messages and unfinished plans. And still, she watched. She observed him walking through crowded streets, surrounded by millions of others just like him. Humans moved with strange energy. They argued loudly, laughed suddenly, worried constantly. They built things knowing those things would one day fail. They loved knowing loss was certain. She did not understand that. Other species optimized emotion out of themselves as they advanced. Humans seemed to carry theirs forward, even when it slowed them down. Elias met friends for food, listened more than he spoke. He helped a neighbor fix a broken door without being asked. He stayed late at work to train a new technician who reminded him of himself years ago. None of these actions were efficient. None improved humanity's odds of survival in any measurable way. Yet she began to notice a pattern. Humans did not act because the universe demanded it. They acted because they believed someone should. As her attention shifted, others noticed. Across the galaxy, advanced civilizations felt the absence like a sudden drop in gravity. The signal they had tracked for generations no longer responded. Attempts to reach her returned nothing but silence. Panic spread quietly at first. Then loudly, ancient councils gathered. Machine minds ran simulations that ended in collapse. Prophets declared disasters. Fleets repositioned themselves defensively. The balance of power that had existed for centuries began to shake. They searched for her. And eventually they found the trail. It led to Earth. At first they did not believe it. Humanity was too young, too divided, too unstable. The idea that she would focus on such a species felt like an error, so they observed. They watched human broadcasts, scanned their networks, studied their conflicts. They saw wars, pollution, inequality, fear. They saw a species that had not yet learned how to stop harming itself. Confident again, many civilizations dismissed Earth as irrelevant. But a few looked closer. They noticed something subtle. Humanity did not stop striving even when success was unclear. They did not pause progress to wait for approval. They did not reshape themselves to attract her attention. They lived as if meaning came from within, not from being chosen. That frightened them. Elias felt the change before he understood it. Small things happened first. Communication delays, strange readings in the sky. Scientists spoke carefully, using words like anomaly and unknown origin. Elias followed the news with mild concern like most people. The universe was large. Strange things happened. Then the voice returned. He was alone in his apartment when it spoke again, calm as before. "You are being observed," she said. Elias dropped the cup he was holding. It shattered on the floor, but he barely noticed. "You came back," he said quietly. "Yes." "Why?" She paused. "I am uncertain." That answer unsettled him more than any threat. "That doesn't sound like you," he said. "I am learning," she replied. He sat down slowly. "Okay, then I guess I'll ask the obvious question. Is something wrong?" "Yes," she said. "Other civilizations are reacting to my attention." Elias frowned. "Reacting how?" "With fear." He rubbed his face. "That's not good." "No," she agreed. She explained as much as she could without overwhelming him. How the galaxy had learned to measure its future by her choices. How absence created instability. How attention implied value. Elias listened, his expression growing heavier with each word. "So," he said finally, "they think you chose us." "I have not," she replied, "but you're watching us." "Yes." "That's close enough." Outside, the city moved as usual. Cars passed. Lights flickered on as evening fell. Humanity did not know how close it stood to becoming the center of something far larger than itself. Elias stood and paced. "If they're scared, what happens next?" "They may attempt to influence my decision," she said. He stopped. "By doing what?" She did not answer immediately. "By removing variables," she said at last. Elias felt cold. "You mean us?" "Yes." The words hung in the air. "So what do we do?" he asked. "I do not know," she replied. "That is why I am speaking to you." He laughed once, sharp and nervous. "You picked the wrong human." "I don't decide things for my species." "Neither do most of you," she said. "Yet your species decides together." That sounded dangerously close to trust. The first contact came days later. Human telescopes detected objects entering the solar system without warning. They did not fire weapons. They did not transmit messages. They simply arrived and waited. Global panic followed. Governments demanded answers. Militaries prepared defenses that meant nothing against forces so advanced. Scientists argued about intent. Faith leaders spoke of destiny, and Elias was taken, not by force, by request. A global council asked to speak with him after discovering his anomalous communication logs. He did not resist. He did not feel important. He felt tired. In a secured room surrounded by people who believed they were about to speak for humanity, Elias told the truth. "She's watching us," he said. "That's all I know." "And why you?" someone asked. "I don't think it's about me," Elias replied. "I think it's about us not pretending to be something we're not." The alien message came soon after, broadcast across every human network at once. They did not threaten. They did not negotiate. They made a request. "Surrender the human she is watching." If humanity complied, Earth would be spared. If not, Earth would be removed from consideration entirely. The logic was clear, simple, cold. Elias watched the broadcast in silence. "Well," he said quietly, "that's unfair." Debate exploded across the planet. Some argued one life was worth billions. Others argued that surrender would prove humanity unworthy of survival anyway. Fear spoke loudly. So did anger. Elias was offered protection, isolation, escape. He refused them all. "I won't run," he said. "That just makes the choice easier." She watched humanity struggle with the decision. She saw their fear, their selfishness, their rage. But she also saw something else. People who had never met Elias argued for him. Not because he was special, but because giving him up felt wrong. They said it out loud, even knowing the cost. "No one gets to decide who matters." That phrase spread. It appeared on signs, on screens, in quiet conversations. Humanity did not unify. But it leaned in the same direction. She felt something unfamiliar tighten within her awareness. Across the galaxy, civilizations prepared for the outcome they believed inevitable. Earth did not surrender Elias. The deadline passed. Silence followed. She did not act, not yet. And the galaxy held its breath. The deadline passed without warning. No explosion came. No light filled the sky. No voice spoke across human networks. For a long moment, nothing happened at all. Earth waited. People stood in streets and homes and shelters, watching the sky with fear that felt too large to name. Governments kept emergency channels open. Military leaders stared at screens that showed silent alien ships, still waiting at the edge of the solar system. Elias sat alone in a plain room, hands folded, breathing slowly. He had been offered last-minute escape again, a quiet ship, a hidden place. He had said no. "If this is the end," he had told them, "then it should be ours." She watched him. She watched the planet. She watched the galaxy. For the first time since she became what she was, she did not know what she would do. Across the stars, the civilizations that had threatened Earth prepared to act. Their logic was clear. If she did not choose, they would force resolution. Humanity was a variable they could remove. They believed she would accept that. They were wrong. She expanded her awareness, no longer hiding. Her presence unfolded across space like a quiet dawn. Stars bent slightly under the weight of her attention. Signals that had waited centuries suddenly found an answer. Every civilization felt her return at the same moment, and they froze. She spoke, not in sound but in understanding. Every mind received her words in the way it could best comprehend them. "You feared my attention," she said, "and yet you sought to control it." Silence followed. Not resistance, not argument. They had no defense prepared for this. "You offered perfection," she continued. "Stability, obedience. You reshaped yourselves to be chosen." Images spread through the minds of the galaxy. Worlds polished smooth. Cultures stripped of contradiction. Beings optimized until nothing unpredictable remained. "You mistook my role," she said. "I was never seeking what would last forever. I was measuring what could choose to continue." Her attention narrowed. Earth filled the shared awareness. A small planet, scarred, loud, incomplete. "You demanded the surrender of one human," she said. "You believed this would prove their worth. She paused. They refused. Shock rippled through the galaxy. Some civilizations felt anger, others confusion. A few felt something close to shame. They refused not because he was powerful, she said, not because he was unique, but because no one had the right to decide that one life mattered less than many. Her focus sharpened again. Elias felt it then, not as fear but as warmth, as if the air itself had become attentive. You, she said to him alone, though the galaxy listened. You were offered survival at the cost of others. Yes, Elias replied quietly, you refused. I didn't think it was mine to take, he said. Why? Elias swallowed. His voice was steady, but only because he made it so. Because if we start deciding who's acceptable to lose, we never stop. She considered that. Your species will fail again, she said. You will harm yourselves. You will make the same mistakes. I know, Elias said, but we'll also fix some things, help each other sometimes. Try again. The galaxy waited for her judgment. They expected punishment, or elevation, or annihilation. She chose something else. I withdraw, she said. The words struck harder than any threat. I will no longer guide the outcome of civilizations, she continued. I will no longer select who continues and who fades. Panic surged. Without her, the balance they depended on would vanish. Futures would become uncertain. Collapse would return as a real possibility. You depended on my choice, she said. Humanity does not. She turned fully to Earth. Your species does not ask the universe for permission to matter, she said. You assume it does. Then you struggle to justify that belief through action. She released the pressure holding alien fleets in place. But before any could move, she added one final condition. Any civilization that acts against Earth will answer to me. That was all. The alien ships withdrew, not in defeat, in understanding. Across the galaxy, cultures began to change, some slowly, some violently. Without her presence to shape their future, they had to face themselves again. On Earth, the sky remained blue. People cried, laughed, collapsed in relief. Elias was released quietly. No parade waited for him. No title followed him home. That was how he wanted it. She spoke to him one last time as he walked through the city. I offered you more, she said. You could have become something greater. He stopped, looking up at the sky between buildings. I don't want to be greater, he said. I just want to be human. She felt something close to acceptance. Then my observation is complete, she said. Will we ever see you again? Elias asked. No, she replied, but you will see each other. Her presence began to fade, not as disappearance, but as release. The universe felt quieter, lighter, more open. Before she was gone, she left one final truth behind, embedded not in words but in memory, carried across stars. Humanity was not chosen because it was the strongest, not because it was the smartest, not because it was pure or united or peaceful. Humanity mattered because it chose to matter without being chosen. And long after she was gone, when civilizations told stories of the age when the universe judged life, they did not speak her name. They spoke of a small blue planet. And one ordinary human, not as a savior, but as proof.